everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is JoJo and this is JoJo Budgets. So today's video we are going to be doing our week 3 check-in for paycheck number 2 for the month of July. But before we hop into that video, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Mary Cruz. Girl, thank you so much. You had caught my miscalculation on my paycheck number 1 fixed expenses expected total budget sheet. So I have written here $1,613.89, which is what the amount was supposed to be had I calculated it correctly. However, I had written $1,563.89. So last week when I was totaling out my actual fixed expense amount, I thought I was over budget because of my babysitter, and so I'd written this in red as well, but we were actually under budget because I overestimate my expected fixed expenses, which I do recommend, and I underestimate my income to give myself a cushion, which is what this was meant to do had I calculated my expected fixed expenses correctly. So the over budget amount for my babysitter really ended up coming out in the wash because I was under budget on quite a few other bills. So thank you, Mary Cruz. I wanted to just give a huge shout out to her and let her know that I did go ahead and update my sheets to where I am not over budget here. My expected rollover has also been updated, and then I updated the expected rollover amount on my paycheck number 2 budget sheet. And really the actual numbers didn't change, but I do appreciate being accurate, especially with my budget. So thank you, thank you. You guys have my back. I really appreciate your help and your comments and your feedback on this journey. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get you guys switched over to the transaction log and we'll get started. All right, and so here we are with my transaction log for week 3. I've gone ahead and filled everything out just for the sake of saving time, but to walk you guys through who are new what the columns are for my transaction log. The first column is a checkbox section, so I can make sure that I have reconciled all the transactions, followed by the date that the transaction occurred, a description, how much it was for, how much is remaining from that category, from what I have budgeted for that category, the category that the transaction fits into, and then I do also color code my categories. So there were some transactions carried over on this sheet. Up here is where we did our week 2 check-in last Thursday. And then here's the line separating those 2 weeks. And week 3 is going to be covering July 16th to July 22nd. But my checkbox section is color coded for the category. Green is for income, pink is a bill, yellow is a variable expense, and blue is a sinking fund. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull in my weekly check-in sheet for my variable expenses and we'll get started. This is my weekly check-in sheet. For my variable expenses, my husband and I get paid every other week, so each paycheck covers 2 weeks worth of variable expenses, and this is just how I keep track of them until I add the 2 weeks together and transfer it into my paycheck budget sheet. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull in my transaction log and we'll get started. So this is going to be for paycheck number 2. The dates that it's covering is July 16th to July 22nd for week 3. And I'll start here with groceries. These are our variable expenses, but obviously that's something that is very personalized with a budget. So how I like to, for those of you who have watched my previous videos, how I like to calculate my variable expenses is using this remaining column, because clearly, as was evidenced by the introduction of this video, I have a problem with typing in numbers into a calculator. So this is just easier for me. So I take the amount that I budget for the 2 weeks for that category, which is $400 for groceries, and then I subtract what is remaining, which is $253.79 for groceries, and that tells me how much we spent this week. So we spent $146.21 on groceries. So I'll go ahead and write that down. And then our remaining is the $253.79. Okay, and so next is eating out. And you guys, this last week was crazy for us. So there was a lot of fun stuff going on, but it was really hard to maintain our budget. Like, my oldest had his birthday, that was on Wednesday, and so he's a teenager, so of course he just wanted to go shopping, and then, which is fine, you know, and then we also went out to eat, because he's a teenage boy, so food is very important. And then we've gone to celebrate his birthday up at a lake that we live nearby. It's like about an hour from where we live. So that was, you know, just lots of gas money that was spent, lots of eating out, shopping, things like that. So, and then we also have a timeshare. We had a vacation that was canceled. We were going to be using our week for our timeshare for that, but that was canceled. So we were able to transfer our timeshare to a different resort that's nearby where we live. But it's like an hour and a half away, and we didn't, you know, really have the vacation time off to stay up there the entire time. So we were traveling back and forth for that. And then of course there was, you know, like eating out and things like that. Just, it was chaotic. And so when things are chaotic, it's kind of a little more difficult to maintain a budget and that sort of thing. But I am, my word going into July was gratitude. So I am so grateful that we had the opportunity to do that. This last week, it was wonderful to be able to get out of the house. You know, we've all been it kind of feels like we've been on Groundhog Day almost, like we're doing the same things every day, and we were kind of on top of each other, so it was nice to just get out somewhere. We found a beautiful place to go hiking, so to be out in nature and rejuvenate our spirits, spend some quality time with each other, it was really nice. You know, so I'd like to hear how your guys' week was going. You know, were you able to go anywhere or do anything, or how are you all doing? How is your budget doing? That sort of thing. I'm thinking this week is going to be a lot more manageable because there's not really much going on, which will kind of be a bit of a relief, because even though it was a lot of fun, sometimes you need a vacation from the vacation. But it was good. The kids had a really good time, and so did I. Right? But yeah, we almost filled up a page and a half of expenses, which was just crazy to me. I could not believe that. Okay, so here, just going through the kids again, I'm taking the $20 that I budget for each kid, minusing what's remaining from theirs. So these two, they spent essentially the same amount, my two youngest. And then we have, actually all three of them did, so it's kind of funny how that ended up turning out. But yeah, we're supposed to be hearing, I think they had a meeting yesterday about what the plan is going to be for going back to school. It'll be nice to just know, you know, I think it's been really the unknown that's so stressful. But I mean, just everything is so unknown. Okay. So that is going to take care of our variable expenses. I'll go ahead and add these up and come back with our total numbers. Okay, so I'm back with my total that we spent on variable expenses, which I honestly thought it was going to be more than this, considering how crazy last week was, but it actually wasn't too bad. Okay, and then, so it's $587.88, and then I do budget a total of $915 for all of the variable expenses, so that means we have $327.12 remaining. And that takes care of variable expenses, and I'm going to go ahead and get you guys switched over to my paycheck budget sheet, and we'll finish reconciling our transactions. Alright, so here we are. This is my paycheck budget sheet that I use to forecast my paychecks a week before the money's expected to be deposited, so that every dollar has a job before the money hits the bank account. I am going to be doing a paycheck budget video tomorrow. It's going to be a paycheck number 3 budget video, which I have never done one of those. So stay tuned for that to see what we're planning on doing with that money. But now what we get to do during those videos, I plug in all my expected amounts. Now we get to go in and put in the actual amounts. So starting at the top here with income number 1, it was deposited as expected on Thursday, and I did mention to you guys in one of my videos that I was expecting a raise on this paycheck, and I wasn't sure when it was going to be happening, and it looks like it did come through on this paycheck. So, and I wasn't sure the amount either, but it looks like it's going to be $70. So what I'm going to do in tomorrow's video for my expected amount for paycheck number 1, you'll see that I write $2,870 instead of the $2,800. Okay, and then income number 3 was the $584. Go. And I'm not going to add these up just yet, even though it looks like all of them did come through. But we still have week 4 for maybe any extra income to come through. So we want to leave that door open for the universe. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get you guys switched over to my fixed expenses, and we'll start working our way through the pink boxes. So here we come to our first fixed expense was the mortgage. And that one came through as expected at $14,02.07. And then next, the rest of the bills are on this sheet. And for those of you who have watched previous videos, you're probably noticing that I don't have my snowball listed on here anymore. So we have been trying to come up with a plan that is going to work best for us on how to continue our snowball or continue our debt payments, like our extra debt payment in addition to the minimum payments. And what we had been trying to do was a sort of like tying it to the minimum payment. So on the fixed expenses, whenever the bill was due, we would add the snowball to the expected amount and just link them together. But as we've been paying off debts, which I guess this is kind of a good problem to have, as we've been paying off debts, the debt's due dates are due different times. So assigning a paycheck, it kind of puts strain on different paychecks depending on when that current debt focus falls. And we ended up trying to do like set it as a bill, like have a snowball as a bill, which was my most recent possible solution. But when I was crunching the numbers, there are still going to be some paychecks when we're going to be short or really tight if I do that. Because if our snowball came from us budgeting previously, and our variable expenses were lower at the time that we created our original snowball. So it's been kind of difficult to maintain that same snowball. So I think what we're going to do instead, because we do a zero-based budget, is we are going to we take paycheck number 1, whatever is left over, that gets rolled over into paycheck number 2, and then paycheck number 2 gets zeroed out, and that's really our cash flow. So with this equation here, and so what we're going to do is just throw all of our ending actual amount. So right now we're expecting to have $1,789.30 to throw at debt, but next week when I do my week 4 check-in and close out paycheck number 2 is when we're going to figure out what our actual amount is, and that's when we're going to be paying off debt. But our debt snowball is currently $1,449, but you can see that this expected amount is more than that. So we're just going to lump it all together and just make one big payment. So down here on my debt table, I've changed this column to say zero-based payment instead of snowball payment, so it's zero-based, or it's really our cash flow, whatever you want to call it. But that's how we're going to, for now, try to manage our snowball payment or our debt payment. Okay, so all of the fixed expenses have been entered in. The babysitter for these last 2 weeks, we actually already had money for her for those 2 weeks. It was only $25 for this day, $25 for that day, but that money was taken out during a previous paycheck that I didn't actually end up having to have her come and watch the kids. So it's already been accounted for, and then my husband did take out some money, so we already have the money for next week when she's coming to watch my daughter. Okay, so those are all of our fixed expenses, and then I do have my utility bill tracker, so we're going to go ahead and update that because there were a couple utilities that came out, and one huge one that you guys are probably like, holy smokes, what happened with that one, is our water bill. So we got an above ground pool, and I thought that this amount for the water bill over here, the $73.77, oh, you guys can't see that, the $73.77, I thought that was a reflection of us filling up the pool. And we'd actually budgeted $300 last month for that because we just really had no idea. But my husband had told me that the $73.77 is really what we expect from just watering our grass and stuff more during the summertime months. So now, moving forward, so we filled up the pool early last month, but that bill wasn't reflected, that extra water wasn't reflected until the next month. So I'm going to keep that in mind because it will, the purpose of this utility bill tracker is to help me have better predictions for next year when I'm filling out my expected fixed expenses amounts. And our sewer, it has been consistent, but I technically could just pull it out, but it just doesn't feel complete without that in there. So I'm just going to make a note to myself, though, that we filled the pool in June, and then that the bill increased in July, right here. So next year, I can put this, I'll just budget like $130 or $150 for the water bill a month after we fill up the pool. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and take care of that. And our variable expenses, we're not going to fill out this table yet because we're still waiting for week 4. And next is our sinking funds. So those are going to be the blue boxes. The sinking funds table, the purpose of it is not to keep track of all of my categories. I have a lot of sinking fund categories. This is just when I make an expense within that category that's on my whole list, which is about like 20 different sinking funds that I save for. This is just how I keep track of it so that at the end of the month when I close out my sinking funds, which I will be doing next week, I can easily add up those amounts and close out my sinking funds a lot easier. Because before, what I was trying to do was just add them all up at the end of the month, and it was really hard to keep track of them that way. Okay, so we had a certification, and then next was something from kids' clothes. Okay, so we spent $70.37 there. And for those of you who have watched my sinking fund video, my closeout, you notice that we were negative in the gifts and holidays, so we're letting that kind of build up. So instead of using, this was a purchase for my oldest for his birthday, some shoes, and so instead of using that from gifts, I just used it from the kids' clothes fund because of we had more money in that fund, so that the gifts fund could have some time to get rebuilt. Okay, and then we created a pets fund, and this purchase, my husband had bought some fish. We have several different kinds of pets, and we have household and pets that we budget for in our variable expenses month to month, just with their different needs month to month. But this one is more for like if there's a vet bill or if we do want to purchase a pet, that sort of thing. All right, so that takes care of the sinking funds for week 3. And then down here is my debt table. And there were no debts that are assigned to the fixed expenses that came out, so they all have their ending balances, all except for our current debt snowball focus, which is student loan number 1. So as soon as we figure out next week what our cash flow or our zero-based ending amount is, we'll fill that out right here and come up with our new total and our new total debt ending balance for the month of July, which I am so excited for that. This student loan is getting so close to being paid off. It started out at about $10,000, and I cannot wait to see it be gone because it has been with me for many years. We're talking like 17 years, so that will be so exciting to see it gone. But that is going to wrap up this week 3 check-in for paycheck number 2. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to be doing my paycheck number 3 budget video tomorrow. I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you later.